Hello, this is Glenda Woolfolk, and I'm the CEO and president of the No Sister Left Behind organization. And today we are having our first fall session of our higher education empowerment program. And we all want to welcome you here today. And we're going to get started because we're a little bit behind, a couple of delays with technology. But we thank you for hanging on in there and staying with us. And so we're going to get started. We're going to start first with Miss Deborah Bradford.
Good morning. My name is Deborah Bradford, and I'm a board member of the No Sister Left Behind nonprofit organization. I am promoting our higher education empowerment program, and I would like to share my success story and how education changed my life. So let's talk about success. Success in the dictionary describes as the following: attaining wealth, prosperity, and maybe fame. What is success of life? Success in life means attaining your vision of a good life. It means achieving specific goals that result in the future you have planned for yourself. Success in life is defined by the individual. Your vision of success looks different than someone else's. My success and my dream was to become a registered nurse. I wanted to take care of the sick. I wanted to help my family, and I wanted to not be in poverty. And growing up, I had one dress, one pair of socks, a couple of brothers and a sister. We lived in a one room bed. Well, we lived in a house, but all of us lived in one room together, one bunk bed, the boys on the top and the girls on the bottom. As I grew up, I knew that I wanted a little bit more. My mother provided for our necessities. She worked two jobs just to be able to take care of the household functions, to pay the rent, PG&E, and water. We One thing I learned from my mother was determination, how to go forward, and faith in God. So let's talk about how my success started. I entered Bakersfield Junior College, and I was going to school to get my Associate of Science degree. I researched everything that I needed to research, all the professors and all the teachers, because I wanted to have the right teacher and the right professors. I even, for my difficult classes, made sure I had tutors prior to going to that class because I knew that determination was the only way that I was going to get through. So I at that time it was old school time, but at that time we went to the bookstore and I ensured that I received all my books. I ensured that I had the right tutors and I ensured I had the right teachers. The dictionary tells us that undergraduate refers to students that spend time working on a degree after completing their high school diploma. So that's what I did. After going to Bakersfield Junior College, I did receive my AS degree, and then I began to start life with that degree, and I received my nursing license. But with that degree, it didn't take me as far as I wanted to go. So I went back to school, and at the age of 51, and I went back to school to obtain my bachelor's of science degree. It was important for me to get all the information prior to going to University of Phoenix so that I knew exactly what was in front of me so that I can be able to obtain my degree. So I thought about what did I need and and one of the things I was lacking was knowing how to even use a computer, how to attach classes, how to look for my assignments, and all of the above. I continued in that class. I included all and completed all classes, and I was able to get my bachelor's degree. After I received my bachelor's degree, I understood that how to understand theory, but I wanted something a little bit more so that I can advance in my job. So what I did is I returned back to school to get my master's degree. which was my graduate studies. And the graduate studies is considered a study that is higher than your undergraduate. So that means higher than the degree that you just received. The benefits of a master's degree in today's job market, it helps you to specialize in the knowledge and earning and specialize and to advance in the field that you went to school for. You are able to get career advancements, increase earning potentially, lifelong learning, and it enhances a professional network. So I went to University of Phoenix. I received my graduate, um, my master's of science in nursing leadership. But then I also had to be able to balance. So what I did is I began to, with my family dynamics, I had to ensure that my family was functioning in a manner that it should be functioning. So I ensured that I was balancing everything at home. So what I did is, as to have a healthy family dynamic, I needed the support of my family, I needed the love of the family, and I need my family to understand what that entails because I was working full time. So I had a full time job. I had to have open communication. I had to make everyone feel important, not just myself. And I had to value, respect, and esteem everyone as I was going through school. I sat down and I talked to my family, and we set up a schedule. In that schedule, I ensured that everybody had part of the work to do because if you're going back to school, you have to balance it. So everyone had their part. Some was washing, some was cleaning, my husband was cooking, but everybody was in favor of me going back and achieving my goal. So the journey was a good journey because of the communication, the determination, and the dedication that I knew that I had to give to order to succeed. Life is not about feeling sorry about ourselves. We are in control of our actions and choose how we want to live our lives, and no one is going to do it for us. If you're not content with your life, then you have to do something about it. I changed my life by doing something about it. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, young or old. It doesn't even matter what ethnic group you are. You could be white, black, Hispanic, Native American, or even Asian, but you control your own destiny. Some of us have to work harder than others, but the harder we work, the more we have learned life's lessons, which is very valuable. And it makes it easier for us knowing that we have to do these things in order to achieve. So the sooner we get started, the better off we are going to be. Gaining a sense of accomplishment and feeling proud feels like making a positive step forward. Let's make a positive step forward. Gaining a higher education is positive and it is rewarding. Mark Twain said, "The secret of getting ahead is getting started." Stop procrastinating. I have shared my success story because I want to encourage you all to have your own journey and to have your own success story. Walt Disney stated that all of our dreams came from true if we have the courage to pursue them. I did. I pursued, and I'm just an ordinary person. So if you have that determination, you can achieve what you have reached out for. Returning back after my I and after I returned back, I realized that it gives you power. Knowledge is powerful, and not only is it powerful, it strengthens you just as a human being. So I would like to say to all the students that are starting our fall session that remember that it will be hard work. Remember that you have to be determined. And I also remember when I walked across that stage, I walked across twice in 2011 and 2013, receiving my bachelor's and receiving my master's. But I know that it can be done with determination and with the faith of your family and everyone working together. Congratulations for your determination and your thought of going back to school to reach your goals. Next, we'll have Jessica.
Hi, everybody. Happy Saturday. As we said before, we've had some technical difficulties, so we're just going to keep rolling. That's what we do, right? Okay, so part of making that decision to go back to school um, is really assessing your foundation. I really appreciate board member Deborah Bradford's story about her own success, how she talked about she had to talk to her family. She really began to make decisions and was very organized in that. My part of this session is going to be a little bit of the elephant in the room, and that is those things that maybe we don't necessarily want to talk about, but are related to moving forward. So, my presentation is going to be divided into adverse childhood experiences, letting you know what that is, how you still can control your destiny, but we still have to address that, and then giving you two tools on how to get there. And those tools are the growth mindset, and the other one is having grit. Let's get started, folks. Okay, so ACEs, or the adverse childhood experiences, are something that you might have heard of. If our technology were being nice to us today, you would see that you could download information about this. But there are 10 adverse childhood experiences. You can go to a website and take a very short survey to see where you score. The survey is not designed to make you feel bad about what happened in your childhood. Rather, it's designed to let you know this is how you can move forward. This is how you can overcome. So, full disclosure, I have six. 6 out of 10 is pretty high, and they are divided among abuse, neglect, and household challenges. What do I mean by abuse? Abuse would be physical, emotional, sexual, that type of thing. Neglect would be physical, emotional. Household challenges would range from homelessness, divorce, all kinds of different things. I'm not going to list them all. But the reason why I mention that is that when we have setbacks happen with us, and setbacks might be too anemic a word, but challenges, difficulties, it's hard to see a way forward. How do we move forward? We look at other people, seems like their life is going well, seems like they haven't had a lot of barriers. That seems unfair. I would agree with you, by the way. It does seem unfair, and it probably is to some degree. But it doesn't mean that you are without resources. It doesn't mean that you have to stay on that trajectory. So, in recognizing the adverse childhood experiences, I also want to talk about what do we mean when we talk about success. Ms. Bradford talked a lot about what success meant and how it was individual. What success meant for her was being a registered nurse. And what she didn't tell you is that she's very high up in the state prison system as an administrator because she's humble like that. But I can brag on her. Right? Yes, I can. But success is very individual. You have to decide what it looks like for you. So I want you to take a few moments to kind of reflect on what does success mean for you? And not just what does it mean for you, but what does it mean in terms of how to get there, right? Looking over your life, I'll bet that each and every one of you has had a moment where you thought, I was successful in that. You might not have been that honest with yourself because you might have indulged in false humility, right? It's like, okay, I was successful, but you know what I mean? But you were successful, okay? So if you were successful, that means that you have developed some habits that made it happen. We can celebrate that, but we can also unpack it, can't we? What led to that? What did you do to get there? The reason why I'm mentioning that is our lives are not only the adverse childhood experiences. We also have stories of success that we have to marshal and bring close to us to encourage us. Okay. When I think about my own success stories, I think about a lot of times my success came from a passion. I was interested in something. Not only was I interested in it, but I also persisted. I wanted to keep going at it. Oftentimes when I wasn't successful, I was not necessarily interested, okay? But sometimes I had to make myself interested. I mention this because being successful is not some sort of mystery that only these people can be, and they can actually be. Everyone can be successful. I really firmly believe that. There's not really tricks about it. But a lot of the success depends upon our mindset. Okay, a lot of this depends upon the way that we're thinking, because I am a strong believer that belief and then action follows. So you got to work on that belief. So we're going to move on to the next portion of this presentation. I said I would start off with the elephant in the room. I'm not going to act like we're all coming at the same place. We all have different stories, and we all have different reasons to maybe say, I'm done and I'm over it. I want to encourage you though, because even if you're feeling an inkling of doubt, even if you're kind of concerned about, well, maybe I have more failures than successes, I want to encourage you to think about your mindset. There's a book by Carol Dweck called Mindset. It was actually written a few years ago by a professor at Stanford University. And she was really interested in freshmen because she noticed that they experienced a lot of stress. Some of them were failing, and she was like, what is going on? She worked with her research assistants and other students and kind of started doing this research on just their belief system. And she came up with this idea of mindset. And basically there are two types. One is called the growth mindset. The other one is called the fixed mindset. Again, if our internet were being nice to us, I would show you where you could go. But if you just look up mindset survey on the internet, you can take, it's about 18 questions, and it'll tell you where you are. Again, full disclosure, I showed up as fixed mindset. Okay, so let me explain what that's all about. Okay, so you're talking about fixed mindset, Jessica. You're talking about growth mindset. What are you talking about? Okay, in a nutshell, many of us think that the way that we were born is fixed, so that we don't have a math brain, we don't have an English brain. If this sounds familiar to you, that sounds like fixed. What it basically means is that you can't really change. It doesn't matter how much effort, how much hard work you put into it, you're just kind of always going to be stuck. That's the fixed mindset. The opposite of the fixed mindset is the growth mindset, which basically says, if I try, and not just try, right, but sincerely try, and work at it, I can pretty much grow. I can learn. Where I am today is not my destiny for the rest of my life. Okay, so I'm going to do a few of the types of sentences that relate to fixed and growth. So a fixed mindset is like this: either I'm good at it or I'm not. Okay, have you heard that before? That's just who I am. That's a fixed mindset. I've heard that many times. If you have to work hard, you don't have the ability. That's a fixed mindset. If I don't try, then I won't fail. Hitting home. All right. That job position is totally out of my league. And okay, we have to be honest here. We're all toggling between both, right? We're never like waking up in the morning fully growth mindset. I mean, if we're human, we're not. Okay. Now on the growth mindset, but we're working towards, right? We're striving. The growth mindset is I can learn to do anything I want. Okay. And if you're a believer and I'm a believer, it's attended with faith. Okay. And I don't want to get emotional about it, but I'm a constantly evolving work in progress. The more you challenge yourself, the smarter you become. I really believe in that. I only fail when I stop trying. That job position looks challenging. Let me apply for it. Okay. All right. Why does it matter? So I said that action follows belief. Okay. What's in your head really usually gets lived out. So you could actually be accidentally sabotaging your own success just by what's going on in your head, which lets me know that there's a lot of power in our thoughts. And as I said before, this is me as a believer. I believe that. And I challenge myself as well, especially when I see myself leaning towards a fixed mindset and I am accidentally sabotaging myself, I have to reel that thought back in. Okay. I'm mentioning this because I believe Deborah really showed how she did this. It wasn't as if she woke up one morning and said, I'm going to get an associate's degree, a bachelor's, and a master's. There were steps involved. Her mindset had to change. It was a growth mindset. And she addressed challenges. She wasn't a digital native. She talked about how the computer was a bit of a foreign object for her, but she conquered it, right? That is a good example of someone saying, that's a challenge that I can overcome. Okay, why do I mention that? So coupled with the growth mindset, which we're all trying to move towards, is what I like to call grit. There's another book that I like. Angela Duckworth is the author, and it's called Grit, the Power of Passion and Perseverance. Do you guys remember when I said, take a moment to reflect on those moments when you've been successful? And I said, usually I was passionate about something. And I also said, I persevered usually, funny story. I'm one of 11. We won't dwell on that, but I was I was the least athletic in my family, which, really kind of got on my nerves. But anyway, I did not learn how to ride a bicycle until I was 9 years old. And I think that's fairly late in life. Anyway, I got tired of seeing my siblings get on their bikes and go places. And they would be like, I would have to get on the back and I'd be so mad because I just have to hold on to whatever sibling, was nice enough. And I was over it. So, so I decided, I said, I'm going to learn how to ride this bicycle. But it took me having to deal with some fears. I don't know what it was, but I have I'm risk averse. So I automatically think that I'm going to be the one falling down, breaking a leg. Okay. But I had that fear. Anyway, I became passionate though, because I was like, I'm missing out. Anyway, it's a funny story to show that even though I have the fixed mindset, it's not as if the fixed mindset is fixed. You see what I'm saying? You make a decision to change that thought into growth. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's what's powerful. But it's not just changing your mindset. It's also realizing that hard work is important. Mm-hmm. A lot of people talk about how they're going to do this and that, don't they? And don't do anything. Grit is involved. And grit is really about passion and perseverance over a long period of time. And the reason why we're mentioning this is if you have decided to go back to school, even if you're in an accelerated program, okay, let's say the accelerated program is like 2 semesters, right? That's pretty much a year. You still have to persevere, right? You got to get up and go to those classes. You actually have to do the homework too. Okay. So that's passion and perseverance. But I like this statement by Samuel Thompson Davies. Gritty people are able to maintain their determination and motivation over long periods despite experiences with failure and adversity. And the reason why I like that is that it's not that successful people go from success to success. It's that failure doesn't stop them. Failure motivates them. That's just the difference. So if you stop, then you fail. But if you fail and you continue on and you still overcome, you're good, right? So you're still going to have adversity, right? But what you do with it, that's the grit that we're talking about. So you have to have those meaningful goals, a determination that you're going to keep going, even if calculus is the worst class you've ever taken in your entire life. Okay. You still got, okay. It might not be calculus. I don't know what class it is. Fill in the blank is what I'm saying. But the other thing is, I'm going to tell you a little secret here. And I do this when I really want to do something that I'm like, it's going to be tough. If I set my mind to do something, but I tell no one about it, I'm not going to do it. But if I tell someone about it, it's accountability, and I'm probably going to do it. You know why? Because they're going to ask me about it. I learned this the hard way. I've been telling people I'm going to write a book. And they're like, how's the book going? Oh my God. Right? I'm telling you this because you might want to go, you probably won't be able to go back to college without telling people. But you want to tell the people who are in your corner. Mm-hmm. You know why? They want to cheer you on. Yeah. And when you feel like you're veering over to that fixed mindset, they're going to encourage you to move right on over to that growth mindset and get that grit as well. It's an important driver of achievement and success. And it's something that everybody has. What I'm talking to you about today does not take money. I love that. This is something that everyone has freely accessible to them. That's huge. So let me just kind of recap here. Mindset and grit go together. The reason why they're important is that we all face challenges, whether they're from our past that make us have these thought patterns that sabotage us, or the experiences that we're living in today. We have that mindset and grit. And if we can combine those two, really the sky's the limit. Okay, I'm going to leave you with one last thing, and then I promise I'm going to be done with this. Okay. Often when I speak, I talk about priorities. And I hope you've realized that for me, a priority is your internal self. You got to know yourself, and you got to somewhat get serious about your thought patterns and be willing to tell yourself, I deserve to be happy and I deserve to have a good life. I love that Deborah disclosed that she said, I want it better. There's nothing wrong with that. But first you have to be before you can do and before you have. I'm going to say that again. It's be, do, have. Be is all about that mindset. It's all about what's going on in that mind. Really get focused on what you're thinking. I do this. I'm not just saying this stuff because I don't live it. I do live it. Sometimes I fail, but I do live it. All right. Every day, the mind is where the first battles are fought. Okay? When you be, then you can do. Remember I talked about thinking, then action. Then you can have. And I'm not talking about have as in now we're all driving in Bentleys. I don't care about that. What I mean is having in terms of emotional health, physical health, spiritual health. All of those things follow. There is a spiritual principle that I'm also relating to. It's like seeking. When you seek God, I feel like I can say this, right? All these other things follow. But really, you have to first be. Okay. I am very excited on your journey. I forgot to mention that I'm also on the board. I'm the board president of No Sister Left, or board chair of No Sister Left Behind. And we have just started with Deborah and me. We got more in store for you. My other board member, Erica, is going to come up and continue on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Jessica Grimes. Amazing. Thank you for bringing light to the elephant in the room. And I love that. Be it, do it, have it. So my name is Dr. Erica Harper. I am a lecturer at Cal State Bakersfield and in the psychology department, actually. And this is one of my favorite topics. And it's one that is so relevant. So thank you for sharing that, Dr. Grimes. And so, first of all, wow. Okay. I'm a gritty person. I know I just gave my formal introduction, but I do have to say, as we talk about grit, and I have something tells me that I'm probably talking to a lot of other gritty people that have gone through some things, including myself as well. And I want to focus in on this morning on talking about something so relevant to going through anything, be it, do it, have it, stress and coping. And so first, stress is something that we all deal with, but so often I think we inadvertently go about it all wrong. And we often go about it in a more reactive way. And so just backing up a little bit and thinking about the stress that we all kind of deal with and cope with every day, I want to bring up a very important point is that it's adaptive. And it's adaptive, meaning like we survive because we have stress to motivate us, stress to energize us into action. So stress is important. Let's just say that, but it's also important in the way we cope and deal with that stress. So the big question is, how can we cope with the stresses that we all have every day in ways that can promote our health, right? Rather than ways that take away from our health and our well-being. How can we use stress? Because we all have it. We're all doing a juggling act of, these stressors that we have. So I want you to consider first, as we think about stress, how do you know when you're stressed? And just consider that. How do you know? What does your body tell you when you're stressed? What do you feel inside? You might have that tension. I know when I'm stressed, I can kind of feel it in my neck. You might feel it as a headache. And in that moment of stress, so it's a physical thing, right? We know what it feels like. We might get a backache, a headache, irritability, tension. So this stress always, it comes out in different ways. And like I said, it's adaptive. So an acceptable amount of stress is actually good. It energizes us and it motivates us. It activates in our bodies physiological things like our sympathetic nervous system, right? And an acceptable amount of stress is good and it's helpful. But so we can only keep along before it takes away from us, leading to exhaustion. Because in that stress response, we're really drawing from our energy sources throughout our bodies, and that energizes us to respond in that moment. But imagine if our bodies continuously have to draw on those energy sources. Well, that takes away from other things, right? And specifically, often leads to things like physical deterioration, premature aging. Deborah Bradford could share a lot about that as far as like the nursing background that you have, and also inflammation, right? Inflammation, making us vulnerable, right? Vulnerable to illness, altering our immune system, in particular, taking away from our capability and our bounce back ability, really sapping us from our natural immune response. And so that's when it gets to be deteriorating to us physically, emotionally. And so how do we deal with this? How do we turn the tables on stress? So I said it could be helpful, right? It can energize us. It's adaptive and all these great things. Well, how can we turn the tables on stress and really allow us to, in those times of stress, use it to develop things like what Dr. Jessica Grimes was saying, as far as developing that grit, turning the tables on our mindset and saying, okay, how can I move from that fixed mindset to a growth mindset? And I can be intentional about doing that. And so how can I use stress to develop things like resilience, or specifically that bounce back ability? Because we know that extreme prolonged stress over time can really take away from all of our systems mentally and physically. And so looking at that stressor. So we all deal with different stressors, right? I mean, it's called being human, and we're all dealing with these things. They can be just those daily stressors. And of course, we've dealt with those adverse experiences. Some of us who have these adverse experiences, and then just those daily stressors, bills, different things, different responsibilities, wearing different hats. So we have these stressors that we deal with. And so I want, for you all listening right now, think of those stressors that you are facing every day, and think about so first think about what are those stressors and how are you coping with it? Well, and going back to the topic of mindset, how we interpret the situation, that is, how do we internalize that stressor? Okay. And what Dr. Grimes was saying was that we can actually get in our own way when it comes to perceiving and interpreting stress. We can, I believe she used the word sabotage. We can sabotage ourselves with our own self-talk. And so that is a big part of what was talked about earlier as far as a mindset. Do you go into it thinking, okay, I can't get through this. I cannot do this. There's no way that I can handle this right now? Or do you give yourself an option of maybe I can deal with this? And you know what? What we know is that once you give your mind another option in dealing with it, the way we perceive and interpret that stressor, guess what happens? Our stress levels go down. We can see it physiologically. From the moment that we give ourselves another option and moving away, that relates really well to that, moving away from the fixed mindset into a more growth mindset and being intentional about it and saying, okay, I'm going to turn the tables on stress and use it to energize me rather than to tear me down. Because my body is responding even physiologically the moment that I say, this is surmountable. In fact, I'm going to use this to make me grittier. I'm going to use this to overcome this hurdle and energize me, because I know that that's part of the adaptive part of my stress response, is that I can use this, and that's what happens in our bodies. Our heart rate goes up, our blood pressure goes up. Can I use this energy productively? And we can. And so we can use that stress response by first identifying that stressor and saying, you know what, stressor, I'm going to turn the tables on you and I'm going to cope proactively. I think so often we deal with stressors reactively rather than turn the tables on stress and that energy it gives us to be proactive about how we kind of cope with it in a way that helps our bodies, in a way that helps our bodies both physically and mentally. Okay, so I'm here to tell you can turn the tables on stress. We can do that. And so we clearly see, like I said, in research, the minute you give yourself another option in interpreting that stress, the minute that we consider that stressor surmountable and achievable and doable, our stress levels automatically go down. So identify that stressor. I had you do that. Consider how you're coping with it. Consider what your strategies are for handling those stressors, because we all have them, let's face it. And even those joyful transitions, right? I got into this program. I qualified for this, and I can, starting school again, and that's amazing. Story. Even those kinds of stressors can be. Those are still stressors, right? I can recall getting the news that I was accepted into a college program that I really wanted to get into, a full scholarship, right? Same week, I discovered I was going to have a baby. Okay. So amazing blessings. And at the same time, like, ooh, okay. So even those awesome achievements, scoring a great job and doing these things, it can also bring about stress, but that's important because that gives us that energy and that, motivating energy for action. So a lot of you entering this program and entering a college program, what an amazing time to look forward to. You might be thinking like, okay, what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with my life? And in factoring in the stress piece, there are greater demands now, more than any other time previously, when it comes to more education is required, right? There are fewer entry-level jobs. Unemployment and changing jobs is more likely now. And this is an interesting statistic that between the ages of 18 and 50, can you guess on average, around how many jobs a person holds? Any guesses?
5.
5? Actually, thank you, about 12. Okay, about 12. But here's the, okay. But here's the kicker. About half of those 12 are held before age 25. Okay, so, and especially for women, there's a juggling act happening, a time of transition. And this, yes, it's between ages 18 and 50 years old. But there is a higher likelihood right now with role overload. A lot of hats that we're wearing from day to day even. And so role overload, as it's called, is very common, especially for women trying to juggle all of these things right now. Employee, caregiver, mother, and just there's this juggling act that happens day to day. But the good news is that we can use that that energy, like I was talking about, that we gain, that we really, our bodies prepare us for in dealing with this juggling act that we're all doing. And having optimism. I think that everyone right now who's in this program and watching this right now has that. And you know what? And optimism is that hopeful, positive outlook that there are possibilities. And so I think that's a big reason why that you're all here right now. And the good news is stress is the most preventable health hazard in being able to deal with those stressors. So, and developing things like grit and resilience. And so stress is stress, but how we cope with our stress makes all the difference to aid in what I was talking about earlier and what Dr. Grimes was talking about. They aid in our bounce back ability, our resilience. And so consider what contributes to your resilience. A big one that I think was touched on, having support, surrounding ourselves with supportive others. So consider in your life, who is your kind of go-to person, right? Who are you surrounding yourself with in your support network? Because another piece of research that there's lots and lots of research that shows that people who have supportive relationships around them have a lower risk of depression, have higher levels of hope. And so having that positive social support directly enhances our body's biological, physical response to stress. And so consider who that is. Secondly, realistic goals. And I say realistic goals because having those realistic goals improves your chances of success, right? So one foot in front of the other, smaller goals then leading to the larger ones. And so there are a lot of ways that I teach in my class, and I like to do a lot of hands-on demonstrations, ways that we can lower our stress and really use stress, because we're all going to have those stressors, but how can we cope with stress? And so I am a big proponent of meditation and relaxation, deep breathing techniques. And so do I have time to do one, or? Okay. All right. So if you'd like to participate, I encourage your participation, physically, and those that are joining virtually. But I invite you to sit comfortably, find a spot that just gives you a stable, solid, comfortable seat. Okay. And then you want to just notice what your legs are doing. If you're on a cushion, you might want to cross your legs or comfortably sit your legs in front of you. If you're in a chair, just rest the bottoms of your feet on the floor. You want to straighten up your upper body, but don't stiffen. Use your spine just has a natural curvature, and so just be comfortable in your sitting position right now. Notice what your arms are doing. You want to really situate your upper arms parallel to your upper body. Rest your palms of your hands on your legs, wherever it feels most natural. You just want to relax, even soften your gaze. If you feel like you want to close your eyes, I welcome you to do that. Or you can just sit comfortably and maybe just drop your chin if that's comfortable and set your gaze on nothing in particular. Just as long as you feel yourself in your body and you're just relaxing. Now feel your breath. Use the breath as an anchor for your attention. We don't concern ourselves with trying to adjust the rate of breath. We just come with whatever breath we have. But I want you to bring your attention to the physical sensation of breathing. The air moving through your nose or mouth, the rising and falling of your belly or your chest. And just breathe how you would normally. There's no need to try to change the breath. I mean, it's just there. It's perfect the way it is. Breathing is not something that we have to make ourselves do. It happens without our willing it. It is just effortless and regular. Think of breathing as the breath as breathing us. Okay, the breath is one still point we can always come back to because it's always happening. Some will experience a flood of emotions when space and time is made for focusing on just something so simple. Others will feel no emotions. Some will notice racing thoughts, others might not. And these are all normal. And there's no right or wrong way to think or feel when we're just focusing on our breathing. Okay? And so continue to inhale and exhale, consciously thinking. Now concentrate on taking slow, deep, regular, steady breaths through your nose. Upon breathing out, think of something like the word relax or calm. Okay. When you exhale, imagine that you let go of all tension in your body. Imagine that with every breath leaving your body, you let go of worries or thoughts that burden you. Imagine that the wind will blow away these worries and thoughts away. And when you inhale, imagine that you take in new energy with each breath. Imagine a profound feeling of peace that will just come over you. Just continue this for some time. Even start to consider how you might incorporate this every day. Imagine yourself locating a spot in your space and taking your time to put yourself in your own schedule. Sit and feel how it feels sitting in your body and breathing. We can always come back to the breath. That is an anchor. And just take that time and notice how it feels as the air enters your lungs and how it feels as you exhale, letting go of the tension. Okay. Now slowly consider coming back ever so slowly as it is comfortable. Notice the breath in, notice the breath out. Notice the momentary space between the two. And slowly you can come back to this room and open your eyes and feel how that feels. And sometimes with deep breathing, you can even take a deep breath in, hold it just for a few moments, and let it out twice as slowly as you inhaled. And you can feel that physiologically in your body, letting go of all the stress, the tension. And no, I challenge you to incorporate that starting even, you might be thinking, well, I don't have a minute. 30 seconds. Do those deep breathing. Do that breath in, the breath out. And then I challenge you, extend it to 1 minute, extend it to 5 minutes. Anyway, thank you. I hope that was helpful. And I am blessed to be a part of such an amazing organization. Do that deep breathing because we all, we're all doing that juggling act of those stressors that we experience every day. So good luck. And I will turn this over now to, let's see. Okay, Glenda Woolfolk is coming back. Give me a moment, but thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. So this concludes the first part of our session where we really talked about what are those things that you need to get yourself started. And I believe we're going to have a little bit of a break before we move into the next portion.
Yes, we are, but Deborah, come back up and talk about determination.
And so Deborah's going to come back actually and talk about determination. We have a treat for you. Get ready for it.
Hello, everyone. I just want to give you a couple of pointers on determinations and some examples. Determination is a quality that makes you continue trying to do. When things are adverse or things are hard for you, things are not easy, then you have to have determination to make it through. I can give you some examples of myself. When you think about determination, I think about perseverance. I think about when during the perseverance of my time going back to school, I had a mother at home that was very sick. And so I would come home from work and I would go home and I would take care of my mom. That was a blessing for me to be able to take care of my mom, but I had to persevere when I wanted to maybe lay down or maybe wanted to put my feet up and watch TV. I knew that I had to push through what I had to do to help someone else. Being persistent. There were times that I had to stay up all night long to complete my paperwork, to complete my project, to complete whatever I was working on. I would work all the way through and I look at the clock and it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I was so afraid that I wasn't going to get up. So I would stay up and I might wash or do something else around the house. And then when I look back at the clock, it was time to get ready for work. So I was persistent. I kept going through. And then tenacity. Tenacity means that no matter what you're going through, you're going to take a hold to it and you're going to work your way through it. You're not going to let it go. You're not going to be depressed. You're not going to go into the self and feel like I can't get it done, but you're going to hold tight to it and you're going to get it done. And then you have a strong mind. In that strong mind, when people say you can't do it, it makes you say, I can, I will, and I will get this done. With the strong mind, it's very important that you be persistent while you're in school. It's very important that you don't give up. It's very important that you believe in yourself and know that hard work will pay off. And always remember, it is an emotion. Determination is an emotion. It is a positive approach to something that could be negative. So just remember, in your determination, in your thought process, and going back to school, just know that you can do it. You can make it. Failure is not an option. You will get through it, and you will make it to your goal. Glenda?
Thank you, ladies. We've had some great, excellent, oh, look at me. presenters thus far. We still have 2 more presenters coming, and then Jessica's coming back with our financial aid. But it has been an excellent morning, and we're glad of that. We're going to have a 15-minute break, maybe. What do you guys think? Can we push on? A 5-minute break. So we're going to have a 5-minute break real quick, and we'll be right back with you. Hang in there because we got some good information for you, hopefully to get you back to college or get you to college. Thank you so much. 5 minutes. Okay, I don't know what that is.
So it shows 3 of us up there.
I know. What is that? Well, are they still hearing us?
I don't think you paused it. I think you just immersed it. You might want some donuts. Oh, maybe you did. Some donuts. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say pause. Is it pause? Does say pause. Okay. It says
Okay.
pause. Okay. Because I was gonna say, we did that when we had in person people. Yeah, projected it on the screen. We had in person.
I'm like,
Yeah.
you're probably
But now it's
forced.
weird
to have that.
to have a meeting.
Yes.
When you were
I was
talking, well, I know. When Deborah first got up, and I said,
That's another weird thing that's happening.
So I can get that check, guy.
So I'm like, do you guys need to
I
look
think either
at
the board or
board?
look at
I don't think we need to project. 'Cause-
Okay.
I say either turn it off or move the podium to where we're in front of the.
Yeah, and then.
Oh, okay, let's try that.
Yeah.
And I kept looking at
I know,
his
yeah.
face, and I was like, 1, 2, 3.
One, two, three. So crazy.
I was like, oh, I'll just let it go.
It was kind of cracking me up.
You know, and then I
Okay, I'm in mine.
I got a good job. Oh, I was thinking, got it away. And do my meditation this morning. So, oh, funny.